all able to jump on in time. I'm assuming that there's going to be others that continue to jump on, because like Lisa said, we had about 37 people registered for this morning, but we have close to 100 already registered for the Mayor's Summit, and I suspect that will be really well attended. But let's start our conversation. First and foremost, I want to share my screen, because on all of these things we do get to have some quick sponsors, and I'm going to share my screen for a second and just share a quick video with you. Just give me a second. Everybody can see that well, I see.
Lately, our business has really been growing thanks to Suddenlink Business.
Ooh, how so?
They let us bundle secure internet with services like smart Wi-Fi and mobile.
That's like getting pork chops with a side of steak.
Yeah, that inspired our whole menu.
Sweet. I could use some internet security for my business.
What kind of business?
None of your business?
Suddenlink Business Your Way protects your business with secure internet, bundled with the services that are right for you.
Excellent. Lately, our business has really been growing thanks to Suddenlink Business.
Ooh, how so?
They let us bundle secure internet with services like smart...
All right, folks. Thank you for that. That's our friends from Altice that sponsored that. Let's have a conversation. Let me tell you what we're looking to accomplish this morning. That was really a little bit of a setup for our Mayor's Summit. You know, when we were early on in the pandemic, we were doing these business owner summits frequently, just to gauge how people were feeling, what was going on, and for me to have the opportunity to share with you what the chamber is doing to disseminate information, talk about stimulus programs, talk about places where there is help. And also create an environment where business owners can talk to one another and kind of share in the misery and or share in the success of things that people are doing to help their businesses and help to grow. And so that's part of it. I want to share with you also that beginning on Friday, April 9th, the Friday after the Easter weekend, every Friday from 8 to 9, and there'll be an email going out about that. I'm going to host a Friday morning in-person meetup up to 25 people. So 24 folks and myself right here at the MCHQ, socially distant, a couple of people at a table. And we're going to talk about anything and everything and allow some networking, but some good conversation, taking, and so forth to take place. So please mark your calendars for that. That'll be every Friday. We're going to do it every Friday in April. That'll be the 9th, the 16th, the 23rd, and the 30th of April. And from 8 to 9, a quick hour. Just some in-person things. I've been getting a lot of requests from people to start the in-person. We have plexiglass on all the tables. We have all the safety protocols that's necessary here in terms of, and including an enhanced airflow in the building that 1099 Wall Street has done very successfully. So we will do that. And then we're moving forward with some of our events. We're going to stay with webinar events through April and probably May. Right now, it is our intention to do our first outdoor event on June 4th, which is our Leadership Awards Luncheon. And we've combined our Leadership Awards Luncheon with the Lunch for Love to make the Leadership Awards Luncheon for Love. And that's going to be at the Meadowlands Racetrack on their west deck, which is an outdoor, covered but outdoor environment. And hopefully between now and then, the protocols continue to be loosened up for things where we can maybe get to do some more in-person stuff in May. But we're going to follow the executive orders as we all should, and do that. So I'm going to start out with a couple of questions, guys, and please, as long as you have no background noise going on in your home, feel free to unmute your mic so that you can speak. You can speak up like we would be in the same room. And I think one of the things I want to talk about when we get together with the mayors next week, my intention there was to let the mayors listen to business owners and some of the troubles and angst and concerns about operating your local Main Street, either Main Street or local small business, so that they understand the trials and tribulations of what's going on. Some of our public officials are not business owners and have never been in business, and I think they need to hear from business owners what those trials are, both from a normal standpoint and as we fight through the pandemic. And then I want the mayors to talk to one another about the programs that they may be moving forward with in their communities to help businesses create a business environment and to help businesses, especially the Main Street hospitality and retail stores. What's going on? There's a lot of really good things going on in some communities. And we should share those stories. And I want the chamber to be the nucleus for sharing those procedures. We got a great speaker coming in from Washington, D.C., who's traveled the country and wrote a book about the Magicians of Main Street, which is predominantly about chambers of commerce all across the country. But he has seen all different types of economic development kinds of programs in different parts of the country that have worked really well, that maybe we can get some ideas and think tank through here. My message to the mayors, and we happen to have Mayor McPartland, who's also an exec at Bergen County government on the line, and Mike, feel free to jump in at any time.
Sure.
Well, we want the mayors to be exposed to these types of programs, and we want to use what's taking place during the pivot that we're all having to do during the pandemic, and say, in some cases, municipalities have relaxed some zoning policies. My question is, why can't we keep some of them relaxed? Has it been, what's the ramifications of relaxing some of those policies? Can we allow outdoor dining indefinitely, to allow those that were at 25% capacity for a year to be at 125% capacity for a year, to kind of help make up for the ground that they lost? What's wrong with that, right? And just an open dialogue. In some cases, some of those things may not be well enough. But in many cases, I think they should. So let's talk about that. So Mike, why don't you, if you don't mind, share a little bit about what you've seen as a mayor in your community, and let's get the question. We'll get the ball rolling on that.
Sure, Jim. Thanks for letting me speak. I agree with everything you just said, and you articulated it very well. We've been trying our best at being as lax as possible over the last couple of weeks, and as the weather gets better, and I agree with you totally. A lot of these businesses have really set themselves up for outdoor dining. For example, the River Palm, which is a famous restaurant in Edgewater, John's putting up a tent again out in the back of his place. And even though that type of a venue seems like it's more of an indoor steakhouse kind of environment, you get that experience when you're there. People did enjoy sitting outside on a nice day. So we're going to allow that as long as they conform to the certain rules on the sidewalk. Some of these other places down in the south end of town, we have a Five Guys and such in the town center. Roscoe's Pizza, he set up a little sidewalk cafe. I think as long as it's done right, and it's tough because, there are rules in place, but as long as you're adhering to those types of rules, so there's a right of way and a right of passage, I see no reason that we can't continue as we were going, as we did near the end of the pandemic. It got better at the end of, at the end of the fall there. Some of the places, be honest with you, you don't want to look sloppy, okay? Especially you don't want to have a sloppy looking downtown and just have thrown together. So it's kind of tough because from a mayor's perspective, one guy will come in and say, well, he's got this and that, but it looks like hell, it's right next to my place. But if the business owners want to have a sloppy place, they won't get as much business as the guy who looks nice next door. So it kind of feeds on itself.
Mike, I think the dialogue is really two ways, right? I want it to be a two-way street. I think what you just said right now is a valid concern, right? And so I would say that is the kind of dialogue that we would have with local businesses and say, look, you got to be, if you're going to do, if the town is going to allow continued outdoor dining or allow some outdoor retail in some capacity, depending on how the situation sets itself up for, well, then you have to be cognizant of your neighbors, and you have
Correct.
to do your share. Most places, I mean, I had this conversation with the owner of the Colonial Diner this morning. I stopped there for coffee before I came to work. And I said to him, are you going to put your tent back up this spring? And he said, no, why? So I said, because I love sitting outside. I would sit
Right.
outside every morning and have my coffee and breakfast on a spring
Sure.
day. I would rather sit outside. That's me personally, right?
Right.
I would do it. So if the town lets you put up the small tent for 4 or 5 tables, I say do it. You're only losing 3 parking spaces or 4 parking spaces. And by
Right.
the way, when you had your whole parking lot tented, people found a way to come. They parked down the block and they walked here, and it was okay because they wanted to patronize you and they wanted to do that. So I think there is that kind of dialogue that could go both ways, Mayor. And so you as a local official should be able to make that recommendation to the business, as the business is making recommendations to local officials about relaxing some policies that might be more conducive
And
to business stop.
yeah, and Jim, and you know what? And what you just said about parking, we have a couple of municipal parking lots that are kind of tucked away that no one really even knew about. So just for an example, Bobby Brownstone, he had his place, was the Brownstone Edgewater. It gets really crowded because people are standing outside waiting to get in his place in the morning, even when he had his outdoor dining. And the traffic on River Road got a little chaotic, and it was all about parking and valet parking. But we have just down the block. I said, Bobby, write up a flyer, do a little diagram. So as people were leaving, he handed them, listen, you can park over here. Guess what? Parking problem solved. People, they're going to wait anyhow 15 minutes, put your name on the list, park your car, take a little stroll over, and do it that way. So if you can communicate with your customers to that degree and have that, that's an important element of it. And then as far as, I'll go one step further, at night with the bars, there was a little bit of a problem, especially in the residential neighborhoods where, we're an old town, an old river town. We have a couple of neighborhood taverns, and some towns may have that where it's mixed use, and you have your taverns and your outdoor dining, and the noise can get a little bit. You have to work with and the owners have to understand people live in their neighborhoods as well, and you have to find that happy medium. I know we had curfews, 10 o'clock and so forth. But just like any other tavern, they're going to try to. That's how they make their money. Their real money hours, 10 to midnight. That's it. And you don't have. We had curfews, but you just have to be cognizant of the noise and just tone it down a bit. Speak. I would say to business owners, speak to your patrons. A little common sense goes a long way, and we're almost on the other side of this pandemic. And if we can get there with friendly neighbors and living in a good, economically vibrant community, I think that's the direction.
That's perfect. Let's switch gears a little bit, and so I don't see anybody actually in hospitality on there, but there's lots of local small businesses. Is there anybody on the line that is in hospitality? Restaurant? Anybody? Okay, so let's.
I used to be in hospitality. I was in hospitality for 20 years. I was a chef in Philly. And I personally think that it's important that we bring back outdoor dining. The restaurant industry got gutted from COVID, and that's like a lot of people who lost their jobs who really couldn't afford to. So there does have to be a happy medium as far as noise and accessibility to restaurants and dining.
Yeah, Eric, thank you for that. I think you're right, and like I said before, if you join us for the mayor's summit on the 30th, you'll hear from people like Mayor Frank Nunziata of Rutherford, who they closed the Park Avenue, Main Street down a couple of nights a week, a handful of weeks in a row to give restaurants and retail the opportunity to get out there. He's already organizing an opportunity to be able to start that again in the spring. And I commend him and his council and Rutherford for trying to do that and really, try to make vibrant his downtown district, which is kind of like a little Meadowlands jewel here. And so I think there are people that want to find a way to do both the outdoor dining and to find ways to creative ways to do those kinds of things, and it requires a discussion. That's really why we're hosting the summit, right? I don't have any specific plans to offer to local mayors, but there's people doing some creative things out there that they should share and they should pick up, and we should just have an honest discussion about how we can help business in general.
Yeah, I mean, small things like a dining day or something where there's just a bunch of vendors out that are doing something in one spot might even help a business.
Yeah,
little things right now, because restaurants are bleeding, and it's not good.
Yeah, no, and it's really difficult. It runs the gamut. Like the pizzerias and the places that do a good significant portion of takeout business managed to hang in there. But the people that didn't have a place to put up an outdoor tent and had small restaurants went down to 25% or 35%. It was an insignificant amount of people. It was almost not enough to open, right? And so those are the kinds of places that get hammered, and so some towns were putting the Jersey walls up on the street and allowing some people, in sections to allow some outdoor dining in places like that. Those we're gonna have to get creative about how to do that. And it's not only hospitality. I think the same can be done for Main Street retail in some capacity. There's got to be some ways to do that. I can almost guarantee that there wasn't too many negative ramifications of closing the street down a couple of times, a couple of nights a week in Rutherford. I think people like to be able to walk the street and do that, and I suspect that they would like to do that in a lot of communities if it's at all possible.
Hi, Jim. Do you mind if I ask a question before you shift gears that maybe you can ponder on the next where you're shifting gears to? Maybe a question that can be asked to the mayors next week is when you break down a full business community other than restaurants and bars and things of that nature, and let's just say you've got the vacuum cleaner guy, the cleaners, and the bike shop who rely on parking on their streets. Maybe what is the protocol with some of these towns, and what kind of solutions are they coming up when it comes to rotating these schedules so all businesses have their chance to have what their niche is? So if that vacuum cleaner guy needs a car to roll up to the closest spot, but the restaurant's in the street, is there any kind of protocols going that's going to work in both directions? So it's just an open question for the future.
No, Danny, I think that's again what I said to Mike McPartland a few minutes ago. This dialogue needs to take into consideration those things, right? We can't hurt other businesses while we're trying to help a local restaurant, right? That's why the conversations need to take place. And there's a lot of professional service businesses. I see Jennifer Metzger on the phone on here. Hi, Jennifer.
Hi.
Jennifer's a residential and commercial real estate agency, and so there's professional service firms that are affected by these things too. Jennifer, why don't you share a little bit about how your business is either positively or negatively affected, and how you've been active in your community. Just share your thoughts a little bit and that of your clients. And what's your perspective?
Well, it's a little bit different because real estate has seemingly the whole country thinks that realtors are bazillionaires since the pandemic because real estate's so busy, but it's actually the opposite. I think that real estate agents, especially the good ones, are really working twice as hard for about the same amount of income, if that. The problem really is, we did have an influx of people into our communities, and it's a big job because, we're the first point of contact for the residents. So they kind of rely on us, who do you use for a locksmith? Who do you use for this? Who do you use for that? We've become a concierge of sorts, which is nice because I like to network and I like to know a lot of the local businesses and keep everything local. What's happened is really that there are now, like the homeowners that are selling that can move somewhere else they already own, they're in great shape because they're selling and the prices, the values have become very high. There's 1 in like 30 offers sometimes on homes. One of our agents won a bidding war on 1 of 50. I mean, that is insanity. That is not normal, and there's a shortage of inventory. So imagine if you're an agent and you're working with a buyer and you're out with them every single weekend or every single week and you're showing them as many houses as you can. The poor buyers have like an hour to decide about the biggest financial investment they're going to make. They have to waive all their contingencies if they even want to be competitive, not even having an appraisal, not doing a home inspection. I mean, it's really not great. The realtors are packaging the deals together. They're 1 of 50, they don't get it. Then they take the same client out again the next day. So we're working and working and working. And at the end of the day, only 1 person can buy the house. So the pandemic is a little bit different for us because we're actually super overwhelmed and busy, but it doesn't necessarily bring in more profit. It's profit to the sellers, but it's not to the business owners per se, because there's just not enough inventory out there. But as far as the small business goes, I will say I was a little bit disappointed, and I did talk to our mayor a lot, that I believe, and I don't know how Dan feels, but our businesses were kind of put to the wayside. And you know, I did do a fairly good job of fundraising for the local businesses. I did our community tab, if you remember, Jim, where I helped fundraise. We raised almost $10,000 for each business to have about a $500 or $600 tab in their restaurant. So if a first responder came in, they could have a meal on the community, and that worked out really well. And I'm very proud. I mean, I network with them a lot, and I appreciate them. But businesses like mine, they did all these great things in the downtown. They took pictures, they post them everywhere, and they never even called me. And I emailed them. I said, I'm here. I'll meet you there. Nope. So it was a little bit disappointing how it was almost only to one sector. And like Dan said too, a couple of the business owners I know, like Matera's and a few of the other ones, they do so much business now on takeout that the outside dining hurt them, because no one's going to drive up and pick up when they can't. They have to walk to go get their pickup. And they were really disappointed that they lost customers on those nights because they didn't really want to participate in the outdoor dining. Their big thing was these big takeout menus. So there's got to be a happy medium. And I think Rutherford, and Dan could speak this, and Jim, I'm sure you see this. I think we actually have more restaurants. We have so many new ones opening up. I'm actually very surprised. We have like 5 or 6 new restaurants that just, the Crepe House and Coffee House, I mean, all different businesses that fill the vacancies. I think we have very few vacancies right now on the Avenue, which is great.
It's definitely filling in.
Let me hone in on something that I think you said, because what I want to be able to express, Jennifer, to local officials and even county and state officials is the type of support that business owners need. All right. So we've been fighting, and you guys, most of everybody here knows that we've been fighting for all of the local stimulus, and kudos to Bergen County for its stimulus program for small businesses. Even the chamber was a recipient of a small business grant from Bergen County. We weren't eligible. The chamber was not eligible for the first round of PPP as a not-for-profit, but we were eligible second in the most recent round. So we've filed and received a PPP loan, which was a lifesaver, which was great for us, and so forth. So we'll continue to fight to make sure business owners don't leave anything on the table and apply for that support. But what I think I heard you say is you weren't the type of business that could be support by closing the street down and helping the restaurants. What would help your business? Is it promotion? What does help bring awareness to your residential real estate firm located where you are on Jackson Avenue?
So we have Jackson Avenue, which is, they consider it a different district.
Right.
The West End district. And I will tell you, when they included, let's just give one example of trash, commercial trash we have to pay for ourselves. And during the pandemic, they, I guess, were picking up commercial trash on the Avenue to take that burden off. And I actually called them and I said, hey, I'm like one corner, like you just turn the corner and we're right there. Can you pick up my trash? And my answer was no. And
I still pay for mine too.
Yeah. And I was a little disappointed about that because we're not in the district. But I also have a small Park Avenue office, and I was thinking, oh, do I have to drive my trash across town just so I can get that included? So, you know, I think that with any business, if you need the help, it's there. So like with the PPP, we qualified the first go round. Luckily, our profits we just were about flat from the year before, working twice as hard. So we worked twice as hard, but we didn't lose. So we were okay. So I'm happy about that. But just to be included in on some of these promotions, you know, there's a lot going on as far as what Rutherford's trying to do with, you know, a lot of different things. And I just feel like they don't really maybe consider, they only really, it's retail and it's businesses. I'm sorry, retail and restaurants. And I don't know, Dan, I don't know if you feel the same, but any service businesses kind of are like an afterthought. And even though we promote the town more than anybody, I mean.
So I definitely agree 100%, but at the same time, I also understand where it's a work in progress that we need to all work on. And
right.
I'm hoping that you know, let's just look at this Zoom meeting that we're on. If I was to shut my camera off, you lose my face. And I understand that a town needs its face to shine, which would be coming downtown, seeing the shops and eating in the restaurants. But there is definitely a disconnect when it comes to the all-around business community that goes from businesses that are up in their attic selling eBay products, that are selling real estate, selling insurance, and might be in different zones of the town. So like Anna just said, probably a good question, which drags me back to my original question, is what are the ideas and protocols? So when we're doing these downtown promotions and we're inviting everyone to eat on the street, which I take part in too, I love going down and eating outside, but what can we do in those moments that help rally business for the other businesses as well, maybe by advertising them as supporters of inviting you downtown and bringing in the larger business community in general?
Because what I will say, Dan, is that I think businesses like real estate, insurance, you know, any other type business like that, office type businesses, we promote the restaurants more than the restaurants even promote the other restaurants, right? I'll be like, I'm eating at Materas today, or thank you, I just ordered for my office from, you know, Kebab on the Cliff. Everybody, it was a fabulous meal. Like, we're constantly trying to do that because we want to save our community, I think more so than the other restaurant owners do for each other, right? So I think, yeah, we get a little left out. Not complaining, of course. I'm just, you know,
well, here's what I
aggravated.
want you guys to do. I want you guys to think about. What you would ask of local officials to support professional service businesses or service businesses that may not necessarily be on Main Street. Because one of my goals here is to make sure that local officials are being what we all tend to call business friendly to all businesses that are located in their community. Our focus right now is small, medium-sized businesses, Main Street businesses, because they seem to have been, those businesses were the ones the hardest hit by the closures and the executive orders and so forth. But in general, we want there to be kind of like a new attitude, right? We want to leverage the harshness of the pandemic to say to local officials, hey, not only do you have Main Street businesses, but you've got professional service businesses in your community. These are some of the things that could help them. What are those things, Dan? What are those things, Jennifer? Let's come up with those things. Let's share that, you know, from us at the chamber to our local officials. Mayor McPartland would love to hear that from his community in Edgewater, and as will other mayors. They want to know that. I think they don't know what they don't know.
Right.
Right. They don't know what they don't.
I know for Rutherford, they published this great thing called Ruther Forward. I don't know if anyone has read that.
Yeah.
It was quite nice.
Like that.
And I was contacted by one of the council members, and I'm a pain, so I pick up the phone and call the mayor when I'm annoyed, and I just say, listen, I didn't get in on those pictures. What happened? And then he says, okay, I'm going to do it. And sometimes I know there's a lot going on, right? They don't want to do that, but they have formed 2 committees, Welcome to Rutherford Committee, which I think they plan on doing some kind of thing like Dan does with the Rutherford Chamber. And then there's also another one, and of course, the Rutherford Business Directory, that I think they're going to try to maybe on a committee level bring more awareness. So,
Jen,
Uh-huh.
can I just, and also just to put out, because of what I truthfully believe to be kind of a remedy to some of these what would you call them, like separate groups that seem to be forming not together with everybody. You know, like me and you had already discussed, with the help of Jim, of course, we are in the infancy of creating a committee that's going to bridge all of these things together, where it's basically business driven for all types. And we're hoping that we can radiate Rutherford business out to the region through the Meadowlands Chamber.
right.
I know that that is somewhere that even a lot of the players in the different groups that you were just speaking of are going to also want to be involved in this, because we're trying to create this one place where all business is going to have a face no matter what. And when it comes to business initiatives to bring people downtown for the restaurants or what have you, the entire premise is going to be all businesses involved in our chamber and all businesses involved in our committee are going to shine as part of this cause and going into the future. And Jim, you have anything else that you may be able to add on to that one?
Well, yeah. Listen, I think the more we get people together, and business owners and business executives together, to have these kinds of conversations, the more we find solutions, right? And I think when I think back to us building our new headquarters here, that's exactly why we built what we built, right? We built the MCHQ with all of this collaborative space so that people can get together and find solutions, even as competitors, to talk about what ails that particular industry sector, so that you can bubble up to the top a handful of things that might work, and then people like me, the local officials, and we have these discussions, and hopefully we can implement some creative solutions to tackle the issues. And I think we just continue to do that. Let me continue to shift gears a little bit and give some others an opportunity to talk about, if I said to everybody that's on the call today, how's your business, right? How are you now versus a year ago? What's the answer to that? And then as a follow-up to that, what do we need to do to help get you back to where you were or where you want to go? Who wants to jump in at that?
Well, it's Earl Peterson. My business has been flat to zero. Little work with Dan, a little work with some nonprofits. Nonprofits have really needed to. Videos have been a great way for nonprofits to reach to people. I basically spent the year investing in new equipment and finding new ways to market myself or package things up, because everybody has a video now, or everybody wants to do a video. So now I'm doing almost like a graphic, and then putting a video embedding in it, so you can have your key selling points or whatever. So to me, it's really been a year of just trying to rejigger myself and refocus myself, because everything is changing, and it's changing on a daily basis.
Earl, have you applied for the federal and/or state support programs? Have you received any?
I did receive a small business loan, which helped me buy a new computer and some new software. But other than that, I didn't, because my primary job is still at CBS. This is, still a side job, which I'm hoping to make my main job within the next year or two.
Okay. All right. Who else wants to share a little bit, please?
To peek on what Jennifer was saying, I'm in commercial real estate, and right now with COVID, a lot of folks don't know what to do. So there's a lot of nothing going on, sort of a deer in the headlights. Retail has gotten beaten up, office space, people are working from home, what's going on. So it's been a big challenge as to folks don't know what to do. And unfortunately, a lot of them don't know that I'm here to help, you know, and it costs them nothing to talk to me, to have a conversation, to advise, to consult, to give them, you know, what's going on in the market, to connect them with other people in this room or this group to point them towards resources. You know, being in this type of service industry, we were considered essential, and, you know, we never closed. So we've been here throughout the whole thing trying to help people. And that's really what I'm here for at the end of the day, is to really help people. Yeah, at the end of the day, do I want to meet property owners that are looking to sell or have space to lease? Absolutely. But more importantly, I'm more happy to help the community, because as the community grows and gets back together, it's going to help all of us. You know, high tides raise all boats. And that's been a challenge. I think a lot of towns need to, you know, learn to look to us, to leverage us, to, you know, let me help you with your redevelopment. Let me talk to you about your redevelopment, because I show up at some of these redevelopment things. They want to redevelop their downtown, and they're missing a lot of experts. They're missing a lot of people that this is what we do for a living. You know, like, include us. You know, it's, I'm not, you know, none of us are making any money here. It's to help everybody at the end of the day. And Jennifer says, like, we're the cheerleaders out here cheering for the towns and talking about how great this is and how wonderful that is, but no one remembers us. But that's what we do all the time, every day, day in and day out, talking about the features, benefits, and advantages of towns, locations, areas. That's who we are.
Yeah, this is the conversation I want. I hope you're going to be able to participate at the mayor's summit on the 30th day, because I want more than Mayor Mike McPartland, who's with us this morning. I want a bunch of mayors to hear that sentiment from people like you and Jennifer. And I think so let me ask you, let me switch to this. Do people feel like we're on this date, right, on the 24th of March, are you feeling more optimistic that we're getting to the other side of this thing, and that better days are ahead, if not immediately? They're coming in 21. Do you anticipate 2021 to be a better business year for yourself?
That's iffy. I mean, what's interesting is when you watch the news, the landlords are always painted out to be these horrible, terrible people. And a lot of them are small people that invested in property, and they've got property taxes to pay and mortgages to pay, and people haven't paid them rent in over a year.
Yep.
And it's a program to help this tenant or that tenant, but the landlord, you know, wants, and then more regulations of, I need this permit because I've got people living here. I got to do this annual, this and that and the other thing.
If that's really true, that the landlords are not being considered like a business like the rest of us as well, and they're getting tossed to the side.
Yep, and that's an issue. That's a real issue that one of the things that's on my radar to talk about at the mayor's summit. That's a big deal.
I mean, think about the property taxes, for example. So if I own some retail strip mall and I'm half empty, based on an income approach to value, the value of my property is now down. And that's the most common way to value a commercial property. So now I need to appeal my taxes. So not only is the town now getting less revenue from people not showing up, but now these people need to appeal their taxes because my building is not worth what it was because it's half empty.
David, are you seeing some of the retail locations fill up like we've been seeing a little bit in Rutherford?
It's hit or miss. And when you talk about new restaurants opening, when you look at the average, you get about the same number opening as are closing. So you're really at a net zero overall is what you're at. So I wish people were smarter when they open restaurants and like didn't go out and buy all new stuff, because there's so many restaurants going out of business, they can buy used, but too many people don't leverage economic development corporations or like Keene University Small Business to get a true business plan. And small business people, while they are busy, need to take time to plan. You know, hope is not a plan. Wishing is not a plan. And to sit down and actually have a plan to understand your fixed and variable costs and things of this nature to run a business that will be much more successful. And through the chamber and other things, there's resources for free for them to understand that. And that's huge.
Yep.
That would be a good person to highlight if there was somebody that resells either office furniture or restaurant equipment, or a resource for people to sell that, because there are a lot of the restaurants.
I got a guy.
Is he part of the chamber? We got to get him to join the chamber.
So we got a big guy in the chamber who does that too. We got Ken, right? So
David, thank you. That is really insightful. Stephen Paul, you're still here on the line. Steve, you work with in coaching business owners. Give me a perspective on on what is ailing some small business owners today. What are they telling you when you're in your coaching sessions relative to how businesses have survived the pandemic?
Well, I think we've heard a lot of it already today. I think there's, what we've heard today has been representative to a large extent. One of the other things that I'm passionate about is the internal communications. Obviously, when pressure comes, it comes on everybody, and you feel it on all ends. You feel it internally with the team. You feel it with your prospects and even your existing clients. You feel it with the municipality. So there are these pressures that have come, but it also provides an opportunity really for increased communication and increased customer service. I noticed, for example, I went to a local business here, the Mariachi Grill, and it really didn't feel to me like we were under lockdown. We were under this severe situation. They really did a good job in terms of conveying, friendliness, hospitality, and I really commend them for that. And it really encourages me to further support the local businesses, because I think environment and atmosphere means a whole lot. It's kind of some of the soft skill, the soft part of business, but it's very important. Very important. So
I think you're right. Well, first of all, I had chicken and shrimp fajitas last night from the Mariachi Grill, and it was wonderful. But more importantly, I think there are business owners that have taken what Dave Labush said about planning seriously. They've thought about their businesses. They figured out what their pivot was going to be. They figured out what they needed to pay attention to. Is this a time to reinvest in my business and build up some marketing to prepare? My last note to the membership, if you guys didn't see it, was about, are you going to be on the wave when the wave comes, when business opens up, or are you going to be swimming to catch the wave, right? And there are those businesses that stayed in the forefront, that did everything they could, like the Mariachi Grill, Stephen, to make it hospitable and make sure they were going above and beyond with their customers to keep customers coming back and so forth. And there were others that just, quite frankly, couldn't get out of their own way. And I worry about the businesses that can't get out of their own way. The businesses that are not on this call are the businesses I worry about. Right? Because some of them are floundering. Some of them don't know where to go, don't know where to turn, don't know that there's free resources in organizations like ours, in the county that for the programs that Bergen County Economic Development that Michael runs. There's so much available right now, and they don't know how to do that. So one of the things I'm going to ask all of you that are on this call to always do is, when you find an associate out there that seems to be spinning or down a rabbit hole and they just don't know where to go, you got to get them to get on one of these calls. You got to get them to participate, if not with us, with someone, so that they can get some peer-to-peer help and get some guidance to grow their business. And I think the message that I want to send to the mayors, and I think Mayor McPartland had to jump off next week when we're with them, is you got to recognize that there are all different types of businesses in your community that require some form of assistance, in these kinds of times. And let's creatively think about all the ways we can do that.
Jim, one thing I just will add to that too is I do see a lot of the hairdressers and stylists. They're really floundering, because I think, at least from my experience, I talked to 2 or 3 of them, that 2 in Lyndhurst, 1 in Rutherford, that they're usually the ones that are also, they're not managing their business. They're cutting hair and doing everything else and running their business. And just even the process of the PPP and trying to figure out their numbers was so overwhelming that they just didn't even bother with it. And a lot of them are really suffering. So that would be another important segment, I feel like, because there's a lot of nail salons and a lot of hair salons in our communities. So that might be somebody else that's really lacking, that might really need some help.
Yeah, it's really funny. In the early stages of the Bergen County grant program, which was a $10,000 small business grant, I talked with Joanne Simaluka, who's the executive director of Bergen County Economic Development, and she was desperate. She was calling me desperate for help to get people to finish their applications. People didn't know how to finish and submit their online application, and so it's that. So there is that, and yet all these businesses need to know that there are resources, and I think that's what Dan, this is what we got to do better, right? As a chamber, as a Rutherford chamber, as a Meadowlands chamber, and other business groups, we got to make sure the smallest of those businesses really understand what the value of being part of an organization where they can get the help when the chips are down. Times like this, right? Exactly. That you have a resource to go to. We could steer people like the nail salon to somebody that will help them process a loan application, right? Joanne's team would have done it for them and with them to help them process the loan application, Yeah. And so those types of things. And I think that should be part of our mission. We're in the closing few minutes, folks. Who wants to share anything else about what's either been good or bad about your business, and any thoughts you might have in terms of the types of programs you'd like to see from the chamber to help something that's relevant, right? Not fluff, relevant information that could be helpful to your business. How do we continue to provide you with networking opportunities, especially as we come out of the pandemic? And also, are people comfortable getting out and about yet? And so forth. Go ahead, Randall. You're up.
Yeah, I think people are becoming more and more comfortable getting out, going out. For those that don't know me, my name is Randall Wilms. My company is Minuteman Limousine and Car Service. A year ago, it was like taking a dive off of a cliff. Business went down to next to nothing. It's starting to pick back up a little bit. I think being positive and showing positivity, I'm sure many of you are on social media. Take a picture. You're out to dinner. You're out, doing something out in the park with your kids. Share that with people. There are definitely signs that things are turning better. I had a group of doctors come in from all across the country 2 weeks ago, and they're going around to meetings and going out to dinners. So that hasn't happened in almost a year. So I think things are looking better, and sharing positivity, I think, is one way everybody could help each other.
Yeah. What I'd like to see, Jim, is we all want to network again, but I'd love to do some networking with like-minded businesses of my own, marketing or social media, just so we could kind of get together and talk about like what's working and what's not working.
All right, so that's interesting. So you want to get together with people in your industry, right? People that are in the social media, brand marketing kind of business. The
photographers, videographers, marketers, just so we can all just kind of like, what's working for you, what's not working for you, because some things are working and some things aren't working. I mean, I feel like I'm spinning my wheels a lot of times.
All right, well,
like a marketing association.
Well, so so we have Nina Tucker that's here, and she's in a marketing business too. Nina, why don't you share some thought about the likelihood or the possibility of getting people in your industry together to talk about what Earl has just said.
I think it's a great idea because what I have found is each business is a little different, and in terms of coming back during the pandemic or as we get out of the pandemic, and each business that we deal with is different. So it would be great to trade stories and strategies.
All right.
Yeah, and what I'm finding is people really need, business owners need to feel confident. And if you can give them confidence, whether it's in their business or how you can help them, then there's some synergy there. So yeah, I think it would be a great idea to get together and talk about that.
That's great. We haven't heard from a couple of people on the call. I'm not singling you out for any particular reason, but Jeff and Anthony, anything?
Hey Jim, I mean,
I hadn't felt like I had anything to contribute till just now, and with Earl's idea, I just want to say that, I mean, I think that's absolutely the experience of the nonprofits. I mean, you've heard me say this before. When I first joined the committee, I thought, this is crazy. We're all competitors. Why would we want to be in the same room together? But it's turned out to be completely different. And we've learned so much from other people in the exact same industry as us. And Nina's right. Everyone's doing things somewhat differently and coming at things from a different angle, that I think that would be great to have marketing people together. Because you're right, there are people who are doing social media, there's people who are doing video, there's people who are doing direct mail. So that would be a great idea. Maybe some of those Friday sessions have a focus, you know, for one industry.
I think that's
or
a
another.
really good idea. I like that on those Friday meetings which they unfortunately don't work for me with my schedule, but I would make it work. But I like that, Jeff.
Yep, and there's nothing that says, I mean, I picked randomly Friday, Earl. We could bounce them around if they're successful, and people, I'm testing the waters a little bit in April to see if people are willing and ready to get out about, you know, in a small, limited but safe environment. And I'm willing to do these 5 days a week if necessary, right, with different groups. And I think that could emerge. I took that note. That's a really good comment. Thank you both. Anthony, how about you, buddy?
Well, this was my first time joining into the roundtable, so I'm kind of taking it all in. So that's maybe why I didn't participate too much. But well, one, thanks for having me, and two, you know, I heard something before. So I work for Spencer Savings. I represent the banking end of it, right? And you know, the one thing I heard was about small businesses not having a resource available to them. Someone mentioned about the salon owners, nail salons, not being able to fill out the loan applications and those things of that sort. So, you know, at Spencer, I was in charge of running the entire PPP program for the organization, and then also running their small business lending program. So I understand that difficulty, right? And we did our best to make sure that we gave all our customers, you know, as many and non-customers resources to help get them the money that they needed, right? And I was actually I'm in the process of emailing both Dan and Jim right now to see if maybe there's a way that we can partner in terms of, you know, just doing some type of educational, you know, like seminars or some type of webinars where we can maybe educate the small businesses for, you know, what's the proper approach to, you know, obtaining capital, you know, how to handle the PPP process, the forgiveness process. So, you know, those types of things, I think there's some great opportunities there. So that's going to be the next problem, right? Everybody's trying to apply for forgiveness, and how are they going to get it? What do they need to do that? So that there's going to be some opportunity there as well.
Anthony, thank you. That was great. I'm happy you were with us here today. You know, to talk about that. There are those issues. There are those issues and those questions, even from people in the know, right? And I consider me and my team to be reasonably up, if not considerably up on the details. And yet, Lisa and I were talking just yesterday about whether we would be eligible for a second draw on PPP, right? Because people that got PPP in the first stimulus program were able to take a second draw. And then in the second stimulus program, they offered PPP to people that were not eligible in the first time. So now can we also apply for a second draw as a 501c6 entity? Because I'd like to do that, right? I'd like us to be able to apply for a second draw the way everybody else did. So we that are reasonably in the know have questions about things like that. And if we consider ourselves to be reasonably in the know, anybody that's less than that just scratch their head. And one of the things I want the chamber to be in the future is we're working on right now how we would create a true help center, a true digital online help center where someone could go to this help center page, type in what they want, and get a response as to what those resources might be to help that piece. And that's something I'm pretty committed to, and I'm going to work pretty hard on it during the rest of 21 to try to deliver that kind of program. Guys, we are right at the hour mark, and I promise to try to keep this to an hour. Is there any last parting thought from anyone, good, bad, or indifferent, that you want to share relative to the subject? Because these kinds of conversations are really meaningful to me. I hope it's meaningful to you. If out of this we come up with some ideas on some new programs or even some information that we can share next week with public officials, then it was success. It was a successful hour, and I hope it was. Anybody with a parting comment?
Jim, I just got one real quick on the way out, and it means a lot to me for everybody to remember. And I know a few who have lost their jobs in the process, that small nonprofits and charities, a lot of businesses too, and don't count them out. And if there's any way to come up with solutions on how to work with them to keep them floating, it can also help you. So that's it for me.
Thank you. David, go ahead, Dave.
I just want to throw out that, these mayors and towns, they need to understand that whatever plans they're creating are not carved in stone. They can't wait for every last piece of information before they can act. But at the same aspect, they need to be able to change and alter the plans as they need to get more input for some more people to make this thing really successful.
Yeah, and what most of those plans have lacked, and one of the things we're going to really drive, David, is flexibility. Most of these things are written in stone. Even the zoning regulations from planning boards and zoning boards, they're written in. You're right, they're written in stone. There needs to be flexibility. There needs to be the awareness that in uncertain times you have to have the ability to adapt and adjust, like we've done during the pandemic.
And they need to be able to leverage local expertise and take their input, not just a smile. Yeah, I heard you, and they really aren't listening. They really need to take so.
All right, ladies and gentlemen, thank you so much for your input. Please, if you have not registered for the Mayor's Summit and you can be with us on the 30th, that's next Tuesday, the 30th, and that will be from 11:30 to 1 p.m., right? We're just doing it over the lunch hour. It will definitely not run more than an hour and a half. So 11:30 to 1 p.m. We have 5 or 6 mayors committed. We have some opening comments by Governor Murphy, and we have some really good content coming from a couple of successful mayors, and then our keynote speaker from Washington, D.C. So that presents a good opportunity to continue this conversation, continue with the confidence building. So everybody have an awesome day. Thank you. You know where to find me. I'm here every day. So is Lisa, so is other people on my team. The MCHQ is open. You want to get out of your office one day and have a different atmosphere? Come and work from here during the day. There's lots of space. I'm kind of sitting in 7,000 square feet of space, pretty much with me, Lisa, and Michael every day, and Kelsey today as well. So lots of room here. If you ever just want to break, I know Jeff Ware has done that, and a couple of others have just come down to do some work from the facility. If you need a change of atmosphere, come on down and join us. Thanks for being with us today, everybody. Have a great day. Thank you.
Thank you.
Bye.